All right, everyone that's on, I want to thank everyone for taking a little piece of their time today to be on here with us for the 14th installment of the Catalyst Sales and Marketing webinar series. Today we've got a very special guest, Inga Semionov from Iluce Concepts. We're going to be reviewing the importance of lighting design, a couple housekeeping issues as everyone's working from home these days. You may hear some noises in the background. Please disregard. Without further ado, Inga, I'll get you to move the slide ahead one. For any of you that are new or first on with us, Catalyst Sales and Marketing is a local rep agency in the electrical industry. And Inga, if you go to the next slide, we connect global manufacturers to our local markets. And without further ado, I'd like to just again introduce Inga. Inga was born in Russia, lived in 4 countries, speaks 4 languages, graduated with honors from the University of Brighton, England in international hospitality management. She's been part of the lighting industry for over 12 years, including a few years working for a lighting manufacturer involved in display design, lighting showrooms, electrical distribution, to represent decorative collections. She's the owner of Iluce Concepts Lighting and Design since 2012. Company specializes in complete lighting plans for commercial and residential projects, fixture selection, as well as switch and zone planning to complement the ambiance and decor. She's also a design consultant, managing director, sales and marketing at Soul LED Tech and Design, a company that specializes in linear LED lighting manufacturing made in Quebec, Canada, focusing on product development as well as product training provided to designers, architects, electricians, and general contractors. And we're very, very happy to have Inga on with us today as a guest host. And Inga, I'm going to let you take it away.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me. I apologize if there's a little bit of a buzzing going on. I'm not quite sure what's the matter here, but I'll try to speak very clearly here. So I'll talk today about the importance of lighting design. So it's something that we do day in and day out, and I'll just cover a few points with you. Just something to remember, that there is no formula to just say, okay, if you do it like this, it's gonna work. But I will bring points to mind. So whatever space you're working on, or you're living in, or you're working in, what to pay attention to when creating a lighting design. So I'll just start here. So what are we going to cover today is why do we need to have a lighting lighting plan? What are the issues that we could be faced with if the plan is not accurate, or we don't have one at all? What do we need to consider when making a lighting concept and a lighting plan? So we'll bring a few points together, what we need to think about. The 4 lighting applications, the 4 elements that I believe need to be mixed in any space that we work on or we live in. Like this is very important to me, and this is something that we do for each and every project. So I'll cover a couple of don'ts that we should be aware of. So some of the, I guess, just a couple of points that we see often as mistakes and something that to consider. And I will briefly cover a bit of a exterior lighting. So we'll cover a bit of a landscape and a building lighting, just to sort of tie it all together. And again, there's a lot more detail, so we'll just condense it all into this short presentation here. So I'll start with why lighting and design is and planning is very important. So I actually a true believer that if we have a proper plan, our projects go much smoother. So first of all, you can have proper technical details to have proper wiring of the project, whether it is commercial or residential. It's also what we suggest is best to create a lighting plan with the fixture selection. So I personally think It's impossible to do a plan without fixture selection because each fixture varies depending. It could be it could have different lumen output, different beam angles, different color temperature. So I think fixture selection is very important. And I believe at least recessed fixtures have to be done at the early stages of the project. So the advantages, just a couple to cover here. It's proper layouts and outputs, the design effects of and the controls. So controls meaning switches, dimmers, and so on, so zones. The decorative presence of lighting fixtures. So we know that lighting is very much a fashion industry. We have many decorative lighting suppliers that come out with a large number of new designs on yearly basis. Sometimes it's even twice a year. So it's a very much a fashion industry. So decorative presence is very important, and we find it everywhere in commercial and residential projects. And the budget development in early stages, it's I find it saves from any possible surprises that we might get in the project. So once we have the whole fixture selection done, the client is aware exactly how much it would cost them. So for me, it's like going shopping and buying an outfit. So when you put everything together, you know exactly how much it's going to cost you. It's exactly the same thing here. So on the right-hand side, I'm giving you an idea of this is what our front page of a preliminary lighting plan looks like. So this is a house we're working on. This is the plan that was approved just a couple of weeks ago by the client. So all these, this is on top, it's fixtures that were selected for inside of the house. Then we have exterior fixtures, and we have all of our switches and dimmers and three-way, four-way, on-off, or so on and so forth. So this is very important. So now the client and the electrician is aware of what's going to happen on the project and how much it's going to cost them. So the electrician could also give a very good, accurate estimation of their labor cost, which I find is a huge advantage because the fixtures are selected. So I'll jump into the problems which we see if we do not have a proper plan or accurate plan, or we don't have a plan at all. So if we're guessing on site, like just put it here kind of thing. So the color variation or different Kelvin temperature between fixtures, we see it often, especially in recessed lighting or in some decorative when they still take bulbs, and if the client goes to purchase the bulbs by themselves, often they don't pay attention that there's different color temperature of the bulbs. So they, we've seen it so many times that then they still invest into the LED bulbs, and it ends up not giving them the right look throughout the house, and obviously it's not highlighting their finishes and everything like that properly. Insufficient lighting output, so deficiency of lumens. I have a little error here in my presentation. So this is a plan that was sent to us by a client that we have to rework. So this is an actual dining room, which is about 30 feet by 17 feet, and it only had these 5 recessed lights in the area, which I would imagine that would be pretty frustrating. And our electrical box for the dining room fixture is right here, so that's quite a problematic location. So again, this is jumping into the inaccurate placement of junction boxes, which you also see over here. The island is an actual size drawn out on the plan. So the fixtures, not only that they're not illuminating the middle of the island, the client would be very restricted on choices of the fixtures just because they would be hanging out of the island rather than complementing the design of the whole space. And of course, it could cause project delays and increase the cost of labor. So cost of labor, obviously, if this is done at this point when the wiring is done, and then we come in and all the walls and ceilings are closed off and we have to move electrical boxes, this is where we start to pray that we have enough wire in the ceiling that we could move it without problems. So the next thing is what to consider when preparing a lighting plan. So this is, in every project, this is what a process we go through in order to create an accurate plan. So for me, it's a very personalized project or process. Each client is different. So commercial residential spaces have different usage. We all have different habits and different needs. So I personally spend a lot of time interviewing my clients and seeing and getting to know their family life, if it's a residential, or their work life, if it's a commercial, just to understand the proper needs. And to try to accommodate every person involved, whether it is in the household or in the office. So the activities, of course, that which lighting is going to be provided for. So things like here we're showing a bedroom setting that we've drawn out with a reading light, but also adds a little bit of a decorative touch here. But something to pay attention to, for example, I find kitchen islands, it's a multi-usage space where we could have our kids doing homework there, we're cooking, we could be entertaining, which means that we want to probably set up ambiance and dim a little bit. And we could be also, we also need a decorative touch over the island, because usually the kitchen is a focal point. So quite a few things to consider here. So then in the commercial applications, just quickly, for example, a conference room. A conference room has also multiple usages. So when we're doing a lighting design, we have to make sure that we are covering a few of these things, like if we're presenting on a screen and we want to dim the lights, if we're having a presentation where we need to have paperwork reviewed over on the conference table, that we have sufficient lighting, and so on and so forth. So then that's where we're looking at the amount of lighting required. So the color of the light, that could be, it could affect the view of objects. So for example, jewelry store, where we might be using something like 4,000 or 5,000 Kelvin lights to highlight the jewelry, just to make it shine a little bit more. Or an example that I'll show you in a hotel setting, where we use a very warm light to really highlight the environment or create a certain ambiance in the environment as a whole. So the distribution of light within the space, very important. So this is where we're looking at beam angles, especially outdoor lighting. We can have a lot of fun with beam angles, and I'll go into it a little bit more in detail at the end. And again, the design element of decorative fixtures. So I'll jump straight into that. So design element, this is just an example of a design element that I'm talking about. So this is a current project that we are now working on, and this is an accepted design by a client. So we were working with their existing furniture. The house is very contemporary, but they have this really antique furniture that they want to keep because they inherited it, and so on and so forth. It's you know, it's got a big sentimental value for the client. So we're really dressing it up with these extraordinary decorative sconces that, for me, in a design element, I find the lights have to look beautiful, lights on and lights off. So as lights off, this is going to be very dramatic and sculptural kind of thing, and lights on, of course, it will give us ambiance as well. So as you could see, we're choosing all kinds of different details here on the color that we want of the metal, and even complementing it with the mirror that we feel is going to fit in the space. So this is the example of the design element, and I'll talk about the color element that I mentioned earlier. So the color of the light, in here, it's Hotel Burke's downtown Montreal, the restaurant, the French brasserie called Le Henry. We just finished this project last year. We worked with a local design firm on this one, and here we're using 2,400 or 2,400 Kelvin LED warm light or amber light to create this cozy ambiance in the space. and highlight all the historical elements of the building. To the 4 universal lighting applications, I believe that these elements, they need to be mixed in each project, in each project that we're doing, again, commercial, residential, and we know that commercial projects our commercial spaces are so much more design demanding at this moment. We're not working in cubicles anymore. A lot of, you know, the companies are spending a lot of money on designing their work environment for their employees. So this is very important, and we look at it all the time. And I'll go through each one of them in more detail, but this is just briefly. So lighting to perform visual activities, pretty self-explanatory. So reading, grooming, cleaning, and we know if we don't have sufficient lighting, it's pretty uncomfortable for us when it's not serving the purpose that we want. So lighting to enhance the decor of the space. As you can see, we are repeating ourselves, but this is very important to remember. So the decor of the space, so the decorative pieces, again, that enhance the whole design of the space, and sort of creating like focal points that stand out. So lighting for safety and security, and I'll show you a couple of examples, but something like step lights and you know, post lights to illuminate pathways outside. So not the exit signs. We have many other ways that we could create safety and security of the space, but complementing in the same time the design and decor and ambiance, and sort of mixing it all together. So I'll give you a couple of ideas of that in a minute, and to create an ambiance. So I feel it's very important to have comfortable and controllable light settings. So controllable is, I guess, a key word here, because we are now working on a lot of smart homes, smart commercial spaces. Smart meaning that we have automated controls of our lighting, and by creating certain zoning, we could create a very nice ambiance depending on the moods that we're in. And I'm actually putting you a link here. This is one of the, it's an article that I've written for Canadian Design magazine a few years back, and it covers in a bit more detail all this if someone's interested to read it. So now I'll go into the details. So lighting to perform visual activities. So just to give you ideas in different settings. So in commercial space, the picture on the left, we illuminated very well the work desks with LED panels. Here, the picture in the middle, it's a conference room for a real estate office, where we wanted to make sure that the conference table is well illuminated. But again, there's layers of lighting, so the client could control if they wanted to change the ambiance and intensity of the light. So it's all controllable, but it's still very well illuminated here. And the picture on the right is a bathroom with LED illuminated mirrors for those daily grooming, makeup, shaving kind of things. So the next one, it's just to give you an example of a lighting to enhance decor of the space. So this is a project we're just finishing up. It's a multi-story condo building in Montreal, here in Quebec, and we did all the lighting design for a complete building inside and outside. So I'm just showing you the lobby here, just to bring your attention to the decorative aspects. So we wanted to, just a picture here on the right shows you that the chandeliers are they are located near one another, but we're dealing with different ceiling heights in both areas. So we have a pretty high ceiling over here where we have the 2 fixtures, and we have about 10 foot or 11 foot ceiling where we have this sort of living room area in the lobby. And so we wanted to make sure that the fixture that we choose is very present, but we wanted the same fixture, exactly the same kind of feel, and that it fits in both ceiling heights. So the fixtures that were selected, they're 52-inch in diameter, but they're not as high in body. So we were able to install it in a shorter ceiling and in a taller ceiling. So we're using the same fixture. Which creates a very nice balanced decorative punch throughout the space here. So for security and safety, so step lights is something that we use a lot in commercial and residential. So step lights, yes, the obvious, following the name, used in the staircases, absolutely. But we also been using a lot of step lights in corridors or hallways, like in dental clinics or offices. And this is actually because the step lights, they're not taking a lot of power. So it's a great way to create the security light that may be on 24/7, right? But it creates also a nice decor and a nice effect, and just changing it up a little bit from the traditional step lights that we use, security lights that we used to see. So not as bulky and not as heavy. And then something that we do a lot is under vanity lights on sensors, and I'll play this for you so you could see how it works. So it's actually an LED light that is on a motion sensor. It stays on for about 40 seconds, and it shuts off when there's no movement. But this is something that we use now a lot. It's great as a night light it could be used in children's bedrooms. It could be used like we've done it in a retirement home for elderly. It could be installed under the bed even. So when you get up in the middle of the night, put your feet down, the floor lights up, but you're not distracted with even, you know, we know that a table lamp could be pretty annoying in the eyes kind of thing. So this is just another way to maybe think that we could create this extra secure environment very simply with the new technologies that are available out there. So the ambiance, I'm actually going to talk to you on commercial and residential projects. So the picture on the left, indirect lighting. So this is something that is a great way to create ambiance. So here we're using LED lighting, which is indirect to highlight this gorgeous historical brick wall. It's one of the projects we've done in the old port of Montreal. These bricks were protected and we couldn't drill through them, we couldn't pass wires, so we used LED with remote plug-in drivers to highlight this beautiful wall and create amazing ambiance. We were still able to do it in dimmable. So the picture in the middle is actually a design of a recording studio that we did a couple of years back as well. So in the back, we called it the piano wall and the butterfly ceiling. So this is all for sound protection in the recording studio or sound control. But we incorporated LED, like a linear LED in this project to create ambiance. So obviously all this is dimmable, so the client is able to control the intensity of the lighting and create this gorgeous ambiance throughout. And I find it's a little inspiring as well for what they're doing for living. And the picture on the right is a fireplace again. So this was a vision. So we wanted to create an illusion as if the fireplace is pushing through the roof, through the ceiling, and as if we have a sun shining, like as if we see the sunlight shining through the cracks of it. And this picture is taken during the day, but at night it gives an amazing ambiance throughout, and the light actually hits the floor at full capacity, and we're able to dim it as well. So this is just a couple of things to think of what you could do when we're creating a different, or when we're mixing these different elements that we like to mix when we're doing lighting design. So the things that we want to be aware of, the do not things. So do not put too many pot lights on one switch. Create zones. Even with recessed lighting, what we often forget that we could split, we don't have to have all the pot lights on the same switch. We could create what I call, let's say, art walls or accent walls or something like that by having a couple of pot lights separated from the rest of the bunch, just to create a bit of an ambiance throughout. And again, once those are controllable, it could give us an ambiance. So do not put too many on one switch. So do not leave product selection until last minute. Again, we see it often that when the product selection is left till last minute, we have issues on site with wiring process. And often we either have too much or not enough light output. So too much, I mean, sometimes we see way too many pot lights in certain areas, like unnecessary amounts, which unnecessarily money spent, the way I look at it. And sometimes it's not enough, as we already saw some examples before. And another thing that we see often is do not connect decorative fixtures on the same switch as recessed lights. So this is one thing that we see it happening, that in a dining room, for example, the chandelier is connected to recessed pot lights that we have to illuminate the general area. So then the client is not really able to set up ambiances. This could also actually cause a problem, a dimming problem, but that's a whole other topic to discuss. So now I'll jump quickly into the exterior lighting, and I'll briefly talk about landscape and the building. So two things to, I find this is where I do play a lot with beam angles of the light. This is where you can have fun with beam angles of the light. What you want to do is you want to choose the elements that you want to highlight. So outdoor lighting, for me, it needs to be very mysterious, romantic. It's not too much of it. We just have to highlight the proper, we need to highlight elements that we want to maybe see pop out. And yeah, like I'm giving you an example, like details of the facade, and I'll show you some projects in a second. So the color temperature of the light could be also something that we play with outside, and we see it a lot in commercial application with maybe we're playing with RGB lighting and so on and so forth. So I'll just give you this one example quickly. So this is a project we're currently working on. So it's a commercial building downtown Montreal that it caters to so many different businesses. So it's quite a multitasking building. So this is a picture of it during the day. This is a picture of it at night. So as we could see, it's really not highlighted. It's considered a historical property. So they're now going to be renovating it and bringing it to life a little bit. So this is our proposal for the client. We're actually playing with beam angles here. The fixtures we're selecting is the ones that could travel. You know, the photometrics of them are quite strong so that we could see the fixtures highlighted. Another thing to remember, in a commercial space when we're renovating and it's not a new construction, so we often restrict it to existing electrical boxes. So we're using existing electrical boxes, but what to remember, and this brings me to our next project, that low voltage fixtures, they allow us remote drivers. So we install on the surface, but without electrical boxes. So it simplifies the installation altogether. So this is another project that we've been working on, and it's going to be a boutique hotel existing. This is the facade, and the client will be building up on top here a couple more floors that's going to be a little bit modernized, but all these original features are staying here. So as you could see, like for example, we want to highlight this area here where there's a year of the building, so we're pushing our lights to do this. We're playing with beam angles here. So as you could see, some of our lights are at 20 and they're going up to 30 or 50 degree angle. So I really don't want to see the light going into the windows. I just want to really highlight this brick and sort of make it feel taller than it is. And I'll just quickly take you to a plan just to show you here again. So the fixtures that we're using, and yes, beam angles, it's something that we could really create a nice environment, nice look on the outside, and really highlight some of the details of the building. So just quickly, landscape lighting. So commercial, residential, really where we could have a lot of fun here. So again, we want to choose objects that we want to highlight, but we want to create this kind of like relaxing, cozy, spa-like ambiance. So what bothers me, often we have lights in our landscapes that are blinding. So that could be the type of bulb that we're using, or the type of light fixture that we're using. So I suggest that we create things that are more soothing for ourselves. So just a quick picture on the left here. We use little pucks, floor pucks, to highlight this this house. And as you can see, so the light is creating a very nice shadows on the stone, and it's pushing all the way to the soffit. And yeah, so it's the same thing for maybe some greens and some elements that we might want to bring up. But I find that outside we could play with angles of light. So something as cool and funky as we see a picture on the right here, outside we might appreciate it a lot more. We might use it a lot more, and it might create it might give us that ambiance that we want. So this is something to really think about. So I'm almost done here, and I just wanted to bring your attention to an interesting point, which I always try to, I guess, bring to my clients. So we need to remember we live in Canada, where our days are short, and we don't have, like, some days in the winter where we don't have a lot of sunlight. So proper lighting, I think, is something that could help us. And so it is scientifically proven that it improves mood and energy levels. And we know on a beautiful sunny day, we just feel so good, you know, full of vitamin D. So we also know that poor lighting could contribute to depression and other deficiencies in the body. So I find it doesn't have to cost a fortune. It's just a matter of planning and thinking about it, and making sure that you mix all these elements that we talked about to create this sort of nice ambiance, whether it is in your work or living environment. So I thank you very much. I'm just going to briefly show you a bit of our services, and obviously in English and in French. We're in Quebec, so we do service our clients in French as well, and we do projects across Canada. So thank you. Eli?
I'm here. Inga, thanks again. That was some just fantastic content there. I can't thank you enough for being our guest host on the series. I wanted to say that we represent manufacturers in that space, decorative, indoor and outdoor. Sonneman, GLLS, Dals, Europhase, Hudson Valley, GM Lighting, Mateo, Hinkley, Z-Light, Adorn, and Kendall. You can reach us if you want to get in touch with Catalyst. You can reach us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or visit our website at www.catalystsales.ca.